Antarctica.
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 In the ice, like a huge entrance to a cave, but slanted going down. And he said, I think it was at least, Linda, 200 feet in diameter, a big hole in the ice.
What if the world's biggest secret was hidden under miles of ice? It seems Antarctica isn't just about penguins and glaciers anymore. Some say it's home to something alien.
Something seems to be going on this mysterious continent, and it has been theorized by a number of people that Antarctica is some kind of alien base.
In a shocking turn of events, a rogue drone captured footage so alarming that it allegedly forced the United States to send its forces to the Antarctic. So what exactly were these forces trying to cover up? Was it an alien base? A classified operation? Nobody knows, but the whispers are growing louder. Join us as Antarctica shuts down by the US after drone captures what no one was supposed to see. The discovery that sparked a chain of events. For centuries, the frozen frontier of Antarctica has captivated the curious minds of many. However, in January 2015, one story emerged that shattered everything we thought we knew about this land. Investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe received an email that would change the course of her research for years to come. Hailed by some as the most preeminent UFO investigator in the world and dubbed a guru of American ufology, Linda has built a reputation as a bold explorer of the unknown. From chilling cattle mutilations to the cryptic artistry of crop circles, and from eerie UFO sightings to the unsettling claims of alien abductions, Linda dives headfirst into mysteries most wouldn't dare touch. With such a remarkable track record, it was no wonder Linda was used to receiving many leads from concerned citizens from all over the world about strange sightings. However, when Linda received this one particular email, she knew there was more to the story than what the email entailed. You see, the sender, Brian, was a retired United States naval officer who had spent years flying top-secret missions over Antarctica during the 80s and 90s. This was around the same time Linda had also specifically started doing research on alien anomalies and UFO sightings around the world. With over 4,000 flight hours under his belt, Brian had seen his fair share of strange things in the sky. But what he shared with Linda was something he couldn't shake, something that still haunted him. It was just another routine mission, or so they thought. As Brian's crew soared over the icy wilderness, though, something caught his eye, something so bizarre that it left even his battle-hardened crew speechless. Below them, etched perfectly into the snow, was a massive, flawless circle. It wasn't a crack, it wasn't a random formation, it was precise, unnatural, and too perfect to ignore. However, at the center of this mysterious mark, there was an opening leading deep into the ice. It wasn't just any entrance, though. No, this one was glowing. A faint, eerie light pulsed from the depths, as if beckoning them closer. Eventually, curiosity got the best of him. Brian couldn't shake the feeling that the glowing entrance was hiding something that was just waiting for him to uncover it. Ignoring the gnawing sense of danger, he decided to fly closer to investigate. However, as his aircraft closed in, something eerie and unnerving began to unfold. Every instrument on board began to malfunction. The radar flickered out. The communication systems went silent. The navigation tools froze as if the plane itself was being repelled by an invisible force. It was as if the very air around the site was pushing back against them. Panic set in, but there was no other choice. Brian performed a desperate emergency reboot, steering the aircraft back to safety. Of course, the glowing cave and the eerie power surrounding it still lingered in his mind. Brian looks into the cave. Back at base, the crew was met by a group of men, officials, as Brian described them. These shadowy figures wasted no time in confiscating everything: flight logs, data records, and even personal notes. They were given a stern warning: stay silent, and for decades Brian did. However, as the years passed, the weight of what he had witnessed became too much to bear. He had to tell someone. That's when he reached out to Linda, a journalist whose career was built on chasing down the world's most bizarre mysteries. To Linda, Brian's account wasn't just strange. It hinted at something much, much bigger. What was this glowing cave? Could it be a natural wonder, an undiscovered scientific marvel, or, just maybe, was it evidence of something extraterrestrial? This wasn't the first time Antarctica had been linked to mysteries. For years, whispers had circulated about strange structures buried deep under the ice, unexplained seismic activity, and eerie lights in the sky. Some even speculated that the frozen continent could house the remnants of an ancient, advanced civilization, or perhaps a secret base for alien technologies. Brian's chilling encounter added a new layer to the growing intrigue. So you can imagine Linda was now more determined than ever to uncover the truth, no matter how deep she had to dig. Linda gets interested in Brian's pursuits. As Linda dove deeper into Brian's story, the questions began to stack up. Why had the crew's equipment malfunctioned? What could be so important about this glowing sight that officials went to such extreme lengths to erase every trace of evidence? These questions remained unanswered for a long time. Then, in 1987, Brian's story took an even darker, more unnerving turn. During a routine resupply mission from McMurdo Station, Brian and his crew were abruptly redirected to a remote Antarctic site. No explanation, just orders. When they arrived, what they found was far from routine. The camp they were meant to support was a disaster, equipment scattered, tents torn apart, and not a single soul in sight. The scientists and researchers who were supposed to be there had vanished without a trace. It was as if they had been erased from existence. However, this was only the beginning of something far more sinister. In the months that followed, reports began to emerge of strange disappearances at other Antarctic research stations. The eerie part was that each disappearance was preceded by bizarre phenomena. Radio signals, unusual and rhythmic, began flooding the airwaves. The signals all originated from deep beneath the ice, far below any known human installation. No one could decipher them. No one knew where they were coming from. Then came the moment that would haunt Brian for the rest of his life. What Brian never expected to see. During another routine resupply mission, as they cruised through the icy air, Brian's co-pilot spotted something that made everyone in the cockpit freeze in shock. A massive gleaming craft silently drifted past them, moving with a strange, effortless glide. It wasn't a plane, nor a helicopter, nor anything they could recognize. This craft, shaped like a sleek white disc and over 100 feet in diameter, moved quite unusually. Silent and smooth. Impossible. What had they just seen? And more importantly, what was it doing there? Brian did what any officer would do. He reported the sighting. However, when he and his crew returned to McMurdo Station, all hell broke loose. Agents in dark suits, flanked by senior naval officers, immediately confronted Brian. They made it clear, retract your report or else. It was a matter of national security. Brian, a man who refused to bow to pressure, stood his ground. He wasn't backing down, no matter the threats hanging over his head. The tension was palpable. Brian later told Linda it felt like stepping straight into a scary movie. These agents weren't just after the report, they wanted to erase the entire crew's memory of what they'd witnessed. Despite mounting pressure, Brian refused to budge, but his defiance came with a price. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, even long after leaving Antarctica. Strange phone calls, shadowy figures lurking in the background. It was like the secrets he'd uncovered were trailing him, haunting his every move. Then came the next chilling chapter. A few weeks after that eerie UFO encounter, Brian's missions took another turn. While investigating a remote location, his team picked up a weak, consistent distress signal. It seemed to come from deep within an ice shelf, far off the beaten path. Following the coordinates, they arrived at a site that would rattle anyone to their core. There, in the middle of nowhere, was a glowing, perfectly circular opening in the ice. It wasn't like anything Brian had ever seen. The light coming from it was unnatural, almost as if something, or someone, was waiting just beyond the surface. Curiosity pulled them closer to the glowing ice formation, but the moment their aircraft neared, all hell broke loose. Once again, every system on board malfunctioned. Engines sputtered, navigation instruments froze, and radios went completely dead. Panic spread like wildfire as the crew fought to regain control. It was a miracle they managed to activate backup power just in time, avoiding a crash and barely making it back to McMurdo Station. Shaken but resolute, Brian fired off a cryptic alert about the strange ice formation. What happened next? That was something he could never have anticipated. Classified convoys, cloaked in secrecy and heavily guarded, were immediately dispatched to the site. Then came the questioning. This time, though, it wasn't just naval officers or shadowy government agents. It was the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Their interrogation was brutal and relentless. The orders were clear. Brian was to keep quiet about everything he had seen and experienced. Somehow, amidst all of this unfolding, Brian began piecing together the fragmented memories of his Antarctic missions, and a chilling pattern began to form. Putting all the pieces together, the distress signal, the glowing ice formation, the sudden mysterious convoys. They weren't random. They connected to a web of unresolved disappearances, missing scientists, abandoned research stations, and strange phenomena that had been quietly swept under the rug for years. It was like he was living inside a real-life episode of The X-Files, where every answer only opened the door to more unsettling questions. Brian's sense of duty became a heavy burden. He wrestled with deep guilt, knowing that colleagues who had dared speak out had faced threats, intimidation, or worse. Yet breaking his silence felt like walking a razor's edge. One misstep could cost him everything. However, just when he felt the weight of his silence crushing him, an unexpected ally stepped forward. Linda. Linda was relentless. Her drive to uncover suppressed truths was a force to be reckoned with. Over the years, she had meticulously pieced together the fragments of evidence, interviewing military personnel and whistleblowers whose stories eerily mirrored Brian's. Their accounts painted a chilling picture, a vast network of secrecy surrounding Antarctica, designed to keep the world in the dark about the astonishing truths buried beneath miles of ice. For Brian, Linda's unwavering dedication became a lifeline. Together, they became a formidable team, pushing against the forces determined to bury the truth. As they dug deeper, the reports kept pouring in, each more baffling than the last. Pilots, scientists, and even naval officers shared tales of advanced aerial vehicles, a craft that defied all known laws of physics, darting across the Antarctic skies in ways no technology on Earth could replicate. It didn't stop there either. Whispers began to surface about unidentified submerged objects streaking beneath the frigid waters of the Southern Ocean, vanishing before anyone could even track them. Even stranger were the mysterious radio signals, pulse-like patterns emanating from deep within the ice, their strange rhythms baffling experts and defying all known communication protocols. The pieces of a much larger, much darker puzzle were falling into place. However, none of the evidence that was being collected was pointing towards something concrete. Then came the satellite images, uncovering truths that had been hidden for years. Declassified photos captured the eerie sight of dome-like structures popping up across the Antarctic landscape. These mysterious domes were there one day and gone the next, demolished so thoroughly that no trace remained. It was as if someone, or something, was going to extreme lengths to erase all evidence of their existence. This sparked one important question. Who could possibly want to hide what was happening in one of the most desolate places on Earth? At the same time, Linda's investigation unearthed even darker revelations. She uncovered obituaries for leading researchers in Antarctic studies, brilliant scientists who had died under strange and suspicious circumstances. Their deaths, often coinciding with bizarre incidents on the ice, raised more questions than answers. As Linda dug deeper into the layers of mystery, she stumbled upon something even more unsettling: decades of covert expeditions to Antarctica, funded by powerful military and scientific organizations. These missions, kept under heavy wraps, weren't about studying the penguins or measuring climate change. Their true purpose remained shrouded in secrecy, but the vast resources funneled into them spoke volumes. No one knew what they were really after. Hidden resources beneath the ice, ancient artifacts from lost civilizations. At the same time, despite Antarctica's supposed status as a neutral scientific preserve under the Antarctic Treaty, the frozen continent has become a hotspot for geopolitical tensions. The Antarctic has become a hub for controversial events. Conflicting territorial claims from various nations have added fuel to the fire, with many fearing that the pristine wilderness could be exploited for its untapped resources. Even more chilling are the whispers of covert nuclear deployments. What was once considered the last great untouched wilderness is now becoming a stage for secretive, high-stakes operations. The deeper Linda and Brian dug, the more apparent it became. Antarctica wasn't just a frozen desert, it was the hiding place of something. What you need to know is that Linda's quest for the truth hadn't exactly been a smooth ride either. Mysterious security agencies were tailing her every move, and her efforts often hit brick walls. However, her determination and research have sparked a wave of public curiosity. As more people learn about the bizarre happenings in Antarctica, they're starting to ask the tough questions and demand answers. As for Brian, his flights over Antarctica quickly turned quite unreal. One of the most mind-bending moments of Brian's journey happened during a routine flight over the Queen Maud mountain range. Everything seemed normal at first, a clear blue sky and snow-capped peaks stretching below. Then, however, something caught his eye. From behind a towering icy peak, shiny silver discs began to emerge, one after the other, as if they were queuing up for a grand entrance. They glided silently in perfect formation toward Mount Frobisher, each about 30 to 40 yards across. At first glance, the discs had an almost eerie quality. Their smooth, reflective surfaces didn't shimmer in the sunlight as one might expect. They absorbed the light, almost as if they were designed to do so, creating an unnerving sense of otherworldliness. They didn't reflect the environment around them. They simply were. What happened next, though, is what truly blew everyone's minds. Experiencing the floating discs firsthand. These discs weren't just floating effortlessly through the air, they were defying every rule of aviation Brian and his crew knew. No engines, no wings, just pure, impossible motion. The discs spun through the sky, rotating in perfect synchronization and executing aerial maneuvers. They accelerated with lightning speed, darting across the sky in a blink, faster than any human-made craft could dream of. For 15 long minutes, Brian and his crew were frozen in awe, watching these objects dance through the air. Then, just as quickly as they appeared, the silver discs vanished behind Mount Frobisher, leaving no trace, no sound, no explanation. The technology they had just witnessed had sparked a new sense of fear in everybody who witnessed the spectacle. It pointed to the unsettling possibility that someone, was operating near Earth's southern pole that was far beyond human understanding. As Brian grappled with this experience, he was met with another discovery. The cave that made no logical sense. Deep in the heart of Antarctica, Brian stumbled upon a massive hole in the ice, a colossal anomaly. This wasn't some ordinary crack or crevice in the ice. No, this hole was perfectly smooth. However, it wasn't just the bizarre hole that sent chills down Brian's spine. It was what happened when they got too close. As the aircraft neared the glowing anomaly, things started to go seriously wrong. Even more unnerving was that this disorder wasn't happening anywhere else, only in that small, eerie area around the hole. Move away from it, and everything would return to normal. Curiosity gnawed at Brian, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the verge of discovering something monumental. So he took matters into his own hands. Despite the risks, he began conducting solo flights over the area. Each time he approached the site, however, something strange would happen. Electrical interference would cut through his systems, throwing him off course. The most disturbing of Brian's flights occurred near the end of his tenure in Antarctica. On what was to be his final mission before being barred from the area, he found himself circling the now infamous ice cave once more. As he flew closer, his breath caught in his throat. There, nestled among the ice and snow, was a gleaming silver disc. It hovered in the eerie glow of the cave, suspended as if waiting for something. Waiting for him. Suddenly, without warning, the disc shot up into the air, sending a blinding flash of light straight through the cockpit. In that instant, everything went dark. The plane's systems shut down, and Brian lost all control. The aircraft spiraled wildly, hurtling through the sky in dizzying chaos. When Brian finally regained control, disoriented and shaken, he was stunned to find himself 13 kilometers away from the ice cave, with no memory of how he had gotten there. It was as if the plane, and maybe even time itself, had been stolen from him. His heart raced. Had he been transported? Despite his best efforts to retrace his path and return to the cave, things only got stranger. A thick, unrelenting storm suddenly rolled in, as if the very weather itself was conspiring to keep him away. A strict no-fly zone had been enforced around the area, preventing any access. The storm raged on, and every time Brian tried to locate the hole again, the weather seemed to grow more hostile, blocking his path at every turn. Over the years, Brian kept his findings mostly to himself, quietly reaching out to other pilots in the hopes of connecting the dots. As time passed, he slowly uncovered more eerie accounts that seemed to tie together into something much larger, something far more mysterious. More tales corroborate Brian's story. One of his colleagues, stationed near the Weddell Sea, had seen something that left him rattled. He described metallic pods emerging silently from beneath the water, surfacing for a brief moment before diving back into the ocean. What was weird is that these pods never caused a ripple or splash. It was as if the very laws of nature had been warped to accommodate these strange objects, making them completely unexplainable by any conventional means. Brian wasn't alone in his strange encounters. Other pilots, stationed at various Antarctic bases, began sharing similar stories. Tales of silver discs darting across the sky, just like the ones Brian had witnessed during his own missions. However, the strangeness wasn't confined to the skies alone. Another pilot, stationed near Wilkes Land, offered Brian a new and even more unsettling lead. This colleague had access to satellite thermal images that revealed odd heat signatures coming from deep beneath the ice, sources of warmth that didn't fit any known explanation. The readings suggested the presence of temporary structures or hidden facilities far below the surface. These structures didn't match anything related to the usual scientific operations or research bases in the region. When Brian compared these findings with his own reports, the pieces of the puzzle began to align in a chilling way. There was someone operating deep beneath the ice, something that no one was talking about. It seemed that for Brian, the weight of his discoveries wasn't something he could easily shake off. However, there's something else too. Brian felt there was a responsibility in his story, a burden to reveal what he knows, even if it turns everything we've been taught about our planet upside down. Safe to say, Brian's not alone in that mission. Another famous researcher dove into the Antarctic years back. You see, Brian's mind-blowing experiences in Antarctica aren't the only ones that seem to point to something extraordinary beneath the ice. In fact, his strange encounters bear an uncanny resemblance to the stories of one of the most legendary polar explorers of all time, Admiral Richard Byrd. Now, Byrd became an icon after leading daring air expeditions over both the North and South Poles in 1926 and 1929. However, it wasn't until his 1947 expedition to Antarctica that he truly captured the world's imagination. His stories from that journey, filled with bizarre and unexplained phenomena, set the stage for some of the wildest theories about the frozen continent, pyramids included. The connections between Byrd's accounts and Brian's eerie experiences could be more than just coincidence. Byrd's claims were mind-blowing, to say the least. During his 1947 expedition to Antarctica, he reportedly made a discovery of a massive entrance to an underground world hidden beneath the ice. According to Byrd, he descended for miles, passing over an ice-free land filled with towering mountains, lush forests, and even strange, gigantic creatures roaming the terrain. However, just as Byrd was trying to grasp the enormity of what he had uncovered, he claimed to be intercepted by a disc-shaped aircraft. What's even more fascinating here is the timing of it all. This wasn't just any ordinary exploration. This was right after World War II, a time when the world was buzzing with new technological breakthroughs and Cold War tensions were starting to rise. Of course, when Admiral Byrd returned from his legendary journey, his story was met with an astonishing backlash. Rather than being hailed as a groundbreaking scientific revelation, his account of an underground world teeming with life and mystery was quickly buried under powerful and mysterious forces. The restrictions Byrd faced were similar to Brian's. Much like Brian, Byrd found himself caught in a whirlwind of secrecy. The moment his incredible Antarctic discovery hit the public, a powerful force swooped in, seizing every record, silencing anyone who dared speak up. Byrd wasn't just some unknown explorer. He was a legend, one of the most respected figures in the world. To discredit him, the authorities knew they'd have to do more than just ridicule him. So what did they do? They subjected him to grueling psychiatric evaluations by the United States Navy, a move that raised serious red flags about how far they were willing to go to force him into silence. Then, just weeks after his jaw-dropping claims, Byrd did the unthinkable. He retracted his entire story. The once shocking discovery of an underground world beneath the ice. Gone. And just like that, Byrd disappeared from the public eye, retreating into a quiet life, far from the attention he'd once reveled in. Expedition members who had backed up his strange findings suddenly went mum, as if they'd been silenced by some invisible hand. It was clear Byrd's retraction wasn't his choice, it was a result of unimaginable pressure. In the end, the more the authorities tried to bury Byrd's account, the more it sparked a firestorm of speculation. The harder they pushed to silence the truth, the louder the whispers grew. Some thought the cover-up was all about national security. Maybe the United States Navy feared that the Soviets could stumble upon this hidden realm and use it to gain the upper hand in the Cold War. Others imagined something far more sinister: ancient, highly advanced knowledge, secret technology, perhaps even medical or scientific breakthroughs that could turn the world upside down. For scientists, the possibility that Antarctica could hold forgotten truths was nothing short of terrifying. If Byrd's discovery was real, it suggested that the world's maps and our entire understanding of the planet might be centuries behind the times. However, it wasn't just the scientific community that was shaken. The political elite saw something even darker. The idea of revealing vast, untapped resources beneath the ice could send shockwaves through the global power structure. It could change everything, from economies to social hierarchies. As these revelations and possibilities began swirling, there was another aspect of Byrd's expedition that unsettled many people as they found out. Byrd's mission starts connecting many dots. You see, the silence that followed after Byrd's mission wasn't just coincidence, it was carefully orchestrated. Declassified Federal Bureau of Investigation documents revealed that the government had been watching Byrd's crew like hawks. In the fallout, Byrd's credibility took a major hit. What had been met with awe and fascination turned into ridicule and denial, as the media and government worked tirelessly to discredit him. Byrd himself withdrew from the public eye, retreating into the shadows while Antarctica's mysteries remained locked away. For decades, the continent became a forgotten enigma, hidden under layers of silence. However, even as the years rolled by, whispers of strange encounters in Antarctica didn't fade. Retired military personnel, people with insider knowledge, began to speak up, hinting at bizarre happenings and strange phenomena down south. These testimonies, though often vague and unprovable, only fueled the growing suspicion that Byrd had stumbled onto something extraordinary. Then, years later, just when it seemed like Antarctica's secrets might stay buried forever, Brian's shocking testimony kicked the mystery wide open again. His jaw-dropping account of silver discs performing impossible maneuvers over Antarctica and his discovery of a glowing ice cavern mirrored the strange crafts and hidden realms Admiral Byrd had described decades earlier. It was like history was repeating itself, and Brian's experiences were too similar to Byrd's to ignore. Meanwhile, more and more military witnesses and scientists also began sharing their own chilling encounters. Linda's research has also been a game-changer and has connected the dots across decades of eyewitness accounts. Together, these testimonies are building a powerful case that the government has been silencing the truth since the 1940s, using everything from media manipulation to outright intimidation to keep Antarctica's mysteries under wraps. Here's where things get exciting. We're not in the same world as Byrd was. Back in his day, mass media and tech-controlled narratives had a firm grip on the story. Today, though, in the age of the internet, the balance of power is shifting. The Number Antarctica Truth campaign, fueled by Linda's groundbreaking work, is blowing the lid off long-held taboos and forcing us to take another look at the unbelievable mysteries of Antarctica. With decades of consistent eyewitness accounts piling up, it's getting harder and harder for the authorities to bury the truth. The question is no longer if the secrets of Antarctica will be uncovered, but when. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.